Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Today is Cadence Day. As my music teacher, Dr. Roland Wiggins, used to say, let's take an inventory. There are four conventional cadences as taught in sort of European common practice, but there's plenty of Easter eggs along the way. So let's lay some groundwork and then see what else comes up. All right, we're going to be talking about major scale cadences today, mostly. And you understand that cadences are the codependent younger brother of the harmonic language that we use these days. A lot of songwriters just use 4 and 3 chord cycles. We can't even really speak in terms of cadences. But the sound of those cycles is dependent on the expectations that these sort of old-fashioned chord relationships, tonic-dominant relationships, have always had. Well, let's take a look at them today because they're incredibly useful. Yeah, let's just go to the screen. So theoreticians talk about types of cadences, and let's just hear the sound of C here, just to establish the quality. And this cadence here, D minor 7, G7, C, is a 2-5-1 in jazz talk, or an authentic cadence. It proceeds from, most importantly, the dominant to the tonic chord, and the melodic voice, the top voice, is in fact the tonic of the scale. It's classical, right? Well, taking advantage of that sound, there's another type of cadence that I was taught was called the progressive cadence, but there are other names for it. Now, basically, it's instead of going to 1, you wind up on 5. Some people call it a half cadence. It often appears halfway through a long classical section of music to kind of establish a new key center, almost always the key center of the 5th. Listen to the way the D minor becomes D7 with the inclusion of the F sharp, and then you land on G. A half cadence. Well, everyone likes to be tricky, and so there's a cadence which makes you think it's going to do one thing and then it does another. It's called the deceptive cadence, and it goes 5 minor 6. I like that sound. It's really quite beautiful. Authentic, half cadence, deceptive cadence, and finally the plagal cadence. And the plagal cadence is the only one of the bunch that doesn't rely on dominant chord to tonic motion because it goes 4-1. It's the amen cadence. Four types of basic cadence. You can use any of those cadences to progress to a new key center if you're into that kind of thing. In my own work, I'm trying to step away from conventional tonic dominant relationships. I think it creates a more open, spacious sound. But sound is sound. Chords don't have meaning divorced from the sort of context in which they've arisen historically and culturally, and also just what we expect. I mean, it really comes down to, what have you heard a ton of? Well, what you've heard a ton of is this, right? 5-1. Cadences carry unconscious bias, and I know that's an expression that we use in a lot of different ways these days, but we bring our expectations into the way these things sound. Well, let's go on. Okay, I promised you the backdoor cadence, and it sounds a little racy, but really it's just a cadence that takes us from the flat 7, maybe a dominant, back to 1. And it's a pretty strong sound. I'll play the 1 chord to get our ear into it. Good. Now I'm going to go F minor 7, B flat 7, C. Fun sound, right? F minor 7, it acts like a 2 chord. B flat 7, it acts like a 5 chord. Do you expect it to go to E flat? You sort of do, don't you? But we don't. F minor 7, B flat 7, C. It's a bright sound. It's actually a kind of a fun way to go between disparate key centers like C and E flat as well, isn't it? The backdoor cadence. Well, there's one more backdoor cadence, which is actually even a little spicier. Raised 4, half diminished. That's F sharp, half diminished. 7 dominant, maybe flat 9. This is a real jazz progression, guys. 7 dominant, flat 9. That's B7, flat 9 to C. Typically, that would be 2-5-1 in E minor. Right? That's a typical sound. Not all music needs to be structured around cadences. Cadences are a slightly old-fashioned way of looking at the way chords relate to each other. And in modern practice, even in modern classical practice, there's a considerable backing away from that. But it still impacts the songwriting world that we know from the 30s and 40s, American songbook standards, and musicals constantly, and pop songs, because they kind of sneak into these 4 chord cycles that we use. You never have to say the word cadence to anyone else but yourself, but knowing how cadences work will inform almost all of your writing. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, you know the drill. It's always good to leave a comment because I really want to know what's going on with you. I did this video because someone asked a question about it, and I'm certainly interested, sure. Martin Heidenreich and I are doing a subscriber challenge. Well, do 8 measures of Silent Night, do a little video of it, send it to us, send it to Martin, really. He's putting it all together. We'll show it all. It closes December 6th, so you've got a limited amount of time. Well, I think that's more than enough for one day. I'll see you next time.